Good morning, everyone. Welcome to the Unitarian Universalist Church of Palo Alto. It's so good to be here together. Let's take a moment and turn on your audio so we can all hear each other say hello. Say hi.
Hello.
Good morning, everyone.
Good morning.
Good morning, everyone.
Hello.
Hello.
Everyone.
Hello.
Good morning. Hello.
Hi.
Good morning.
Hello. Everybody hear
Good
me?
morning.
Good morning.
Good morning. So many beloved
Hello.
voices.
Hello.
Welcome to our newcomers.
Hi, everybody.
Hello.
And rocking some mask fashion there, too.
Okay.
Hello.
Hello.
You can see the order of service for you. And just click on that, and there's lots more. If you follow the links in the order of service later on, there's lots going on at UUCPA over the next couple of weeks. Parent Journey today, the Sci-Fi Fantasy Discussion Group Wednesday, Gardening Together right here on our campus on Thursday. Class on Hinduism begins next week. So click on through on that link to what's happening so you don't miss anything. If you are just getting to know UUCPA, or maybe you've been here for a long time but you still have questions, please join me for Discovering UUCPA, a 1-hour session today at 1 o'clock. And again, the link is there in your order of service to log on there. And now Nancy Neff will speak to us about our justice partner for the month of July.
Good morning. I'm Nancy Neff, a member of UUCPA for about 20 years. In 2005, I was debating which of several important issues I should work on, but every issue had the same problem with the golden rule of politics. Those with the gold make the rules. Then I heard about California Clean Money Campaign, which works to reduce the undue influence of big money in politics. Bingo! I had a way to work on every issue at once. With the support of UUCPA, including the use of space for meetings and events and many members attending and helping, I became a local and then a regional volunteer coordinator and eventually a board member of California Clean Money Campaign, which I will now refer to as WE. We passed the California Disclose Act a few years ago. It requires that political ads show clearly who paid for them. We continue to expand and improve on it every year. Our latest bill, the Ballot Disclose Act, will probably have to wait, but we'll be back with it next year. Later this year, our Clean Money Scorecard will put California Senate and Assembly candidates on record with their stands on disclosure, campaign finance reform, and voting systems. Our eyes remain on a big prize, public funding of election campaigns. California Clean Money Campaign is also working on the national level to support vote by mail. We run a lean operation with just a few paid staff members, but we are very effective due to our many active volunteers and a large and responsive email list. Our consultant says Clean Money Campaign has become a player in Sacramento. To volunteer, check with me. You can get on our email list at www.yesfairelections.org. Thank you for your ongoing support of California Clean Money Campaign.
Now, let us begin our service. light our chalice with these words from the Reverend Amy Carol Webb. How often we seek refuge in this sacred flame from the world's trouble and pain. Today, may our lamp light the way for those who know no refuge, that we may open our minds, our arms, our hearts, our mouths to sing, come whoever you are, wholly new and wholly true. With our centering words each week, we draw on one of the sources of our living tradition. Today's words come from the writer Dorothy West. To know how much there is to know is the beginning of learning to live. Let us now follow the sound of the bell into silence and into the sacred space we have created here. Sing together. Bruce will lead us in singing, "Come Sing a Song with Me." The words are in your order of service, or possibly in the link in the chat.
And now, here he is, the one, the only, Groucho Becker.
Oh, brother, what I know about him? Oh, that's me. Well, here I am again, with a chance for our contestants to win $10,000. No contestant has ever won $10,000. They're either dumb or we're crooked. And if any of them say the secret word, the duck will pay them $100. Okay, duck, au revoir. He's a French duck.
We have John, Emma, and Sarah from Silicon Valley. Folks, come in and meet Groucho Becker.
What made you want to come to the show?
We're raising money for our congregation.
Now, Sarah, what do you do?
I'm a student at Los Altos High School.
I didn't know they had any students at Los Altos High School. John, are you a student too?
Yes, I study history.
You know, I've noticed that most historical figures are dead. Is that true?
Yes, but can I just say that you remind me of someone?
I hope I remind you of me. Emma, what profession are you studying for?
Artist. May I say a few words?
Go ahead.
Food. Smile. Tree. Moon. Street. I didn't get it.
What kind of artist did you say you wanted to be?
A painter.
I was thinking maybe a con artist. And now let's play You Bet Your Life. If you get 4 right answers in a row, you win $10,000. You selected Unitarian Universalist history. Who stayed with the Universalist Nathan Johnson on his first night as a free man?
Frederick Douglass.
That's right. What Unitarian Universalist theologian wrote the book Is God a White Racist?
William R. Jones.
That's correct. This congregation you're raising money for, is it Unitarian Universalist?
Why, yes.
I could have guessed that. Which Unitarian Universalist won 2 Nobel Prizes? One in chemistry and one in peace.
His name was Linus Pauling.
Now you said the secret word. You 3 split at $100.
Thank you.
Thank you.
You have 3 right answers. 1 more and you win $10,000. You sure don't want to change topics?
No.
I could ask you questions about something you know nothing about.
No, that's okay.
Which Unitarian was the most famous African-American author of her day?
That would be Sarah Watkins Harper.
That's $10,000. Go ahead, give him the money.
We'll give this money to our congregation. If I say name again, do we get another $100 for our congregation?
No. It's been a pleasure to have you on the show. Now, get out of here.
Did you notice that Groucho looked a lot like the game show host from last week?
Now is the time for us to share the joys and sorrows of our lives, weaving a more close community, weaving support for one another and celebration for one another. So you can send anything that you have on your mind to joyconcern@uucpa.org, and I'll check it right now in real time. You can also post in the chat, and I'll read it out loud for everybody to be able to hear it. Let us now take the time to hold all that we have heard, to feel the love and concern not only among the people here in our congregation, but out into the world, to all of our family, friends far away, how closely we are connected to places even as far away as Thailand, Maine, Europe. And let us hold in prayer or meditation everybody who is in our hearts at this moment. Blessed be. Let us sing now together once again. Bruce will lead us in singing Break Not the Circle. If you happen to have a gray hymnal, the words are there and the music, number 323, and the words are, of course, in your order of service. Let's sing together.
years till people of whatever race or nation will truly be themselves, will stand on their feet, see eye to eye with laughter and elation.
Will you join me in a few minutes of meditation? If you're more able to go into an imaginative place with your eyes shut, sitting in a particular position, get in that position now. We'll take a couple of breaths. And I invite you to enter in your mind, in your memory, into a place, a time, when you have received help. Think of how it felt to need that help and what it was like to receive it. What happened? What did people say? What did they do? How did you feel? Maybe this memory brings particular sounds, even feelings in your body, and just re-experience those. What it was like to be in that place of receiving help that you needed. And just breathe that in. And now turning in our minds, in our memories, to a time when we have perceived that somebody else needed help and helped them. When we knew we were being helpful, that they were receiving something from us that they needed in that moment. Take a moment to let that come into your memory. Could be a big thing or could be a very small thing. How did that feel? What did you do? What did you say to each other? What is it like being in your body in that memory? What's going through your mind? And now slowly we'll come back into this time, not those memories, but of course a time and a place where as the wheel turns we need help, and in turn our help is sought by other people as the choir sings their anthem. Thank you once again. I'm so glad we have so much of this beautiful music recorded from when the choir could still meet together. Maybe you thought of times that you were helpful to somebody and other times you were helped. And maybe it crossed your mind sometimes when you tried to be helpful and you weren't sure whether you were being. And sometimes when you really needed help and those who helped didn't say or do quite the right things to help you. I want to share with you something you may have encountered elsewhere because it has so many applications in our lives. And I think of it as the magic ring. It's called circles of care, or ring theory. And it was first originated by a woman named Susan Silk, who wanted to come up with a simple guide to being helpful. She drew these circles. The first circle, very small circle, there in the middle. She said that's for the person who's directly affected by something that's going on. Maybe they're sick, maybe they've had a loss, one way or another they're asking for help. Like with their, well, it says affected person. Some of us have trouble with our technology and need help with that. Outside that circle, she says, there are people who are not the person who is sick or has suffered a loss or something like that, but they're also closely affected. Maybe close family, spouse, sometimes close friends. There we go. Oh, no. Ha-ha. And then, moving on farther out, there are people, maybe farther out, family, also are concerned about the situation, not as directly affected. It's pretty simple, right? Other friends, maybe coworkers are here, maybe even neighbors. And then there might be circles even farther out, like, as I said, neighbors, people who are essentially, I'm going to put them out here, strangers and acquaintances. I'm just putting them out here because I'm running out of room, not because they're in a different place. People who may find out about the situation, but aren't really affected by it, except maybe they want to just know more of what's going on. Now, the important thing about this, this model is that if you want to help people, you're looking toward the people inside. So the person who needs the most help, the affected person, if somebody wants to help her, well, they're directing their comfort, their support, their help inwards, right? So comfort in is the principle. Comfort goes in. Now, the person on the inside, in her words, needs to be able to say anything to anyone, anywhere. This is what Susan Silk says. These are the rules. The person in the center ring can fetch and complain and whine and moan and curse the heavens and say, life is unfair and why me? That's the one payoff for being in the center ring, she tells us. Well, everybody else can do that also. They just need to do it with the people farther out. I think she said dump out. You might also say vent out. Some people put it that way. That's the basic principle. So, you know, her friends, for example, are also very distressed that something is going on, but they don't dump on her. They only give comfort to her because she's in a smaller circle. They turn outward to people less affected, or maybe people right there in their own circle, when they need to vent about what's going on. That's the basic idea. Now, this is a very simple concept, but you may have felt it play out in your life on many occasions. Susan Silk and her husband, Barry, who wrote about this, said, remember, you can say whatever you want if you just wait until you're talking to someone in a larger ring than yours. Sometimes you might find yourself saying something to the person in the inner ring, because this is when it's coming up. You visit somebody who's very ill, and you think, oh my gosh, they look terrible. And then in a moment with their spouse, you say, I didn't expect her to look so terrible. You know, the spouse is right there in the circle right outside the affected person. So they're not the people to vent to, they're the people to give comfort to. But you can say that. You can go and call up a friend, somebody who's farther outside, and say, oh, I saw so-and-so, and she looks terrible. I'm really, really worried about her. Susan Silk and her husband assure us, don't worry, you'll get your turn in the center ring. You can count on that. Sadly, that's true. Now, Susan Silk drew these circles after her own experience of having cancer. She was in the hospital. She was recuperating from surgery that she undertook to try to save her life. And at that time, she got a query from a colleague. When would be a good time to visit? As Susan and Barry relate, she needed to visit Susan after the surgery, but Susan didn't feel like having visitors, and she said so. Her colleague's response, this isn't just about you. Susan wondered, it's not? My breast cancer is not about me, it's about you? Now, actually, the colleague was right. Not very sensitive, but right. Your cancer is not just about you, neither is your loss or your trauma, but it is more about you than about anyone else. You are the person most in need of comfort, and you deserve to just stand in the middle and stamp your feet and whine and rage at the universe and receive only care and support from others. Now, that colleague of Silk's, she was right that she needed to talk to someone. Something about Susan's cancer was bringing something up for her, and she just chose the wrong person to speak to about it. The colleague needed to vent to someone in a larger circle, someone who, like her, was not too closely affected and certainly wasn't more closely affected than she was by this difficult experience. Now, the colleague was more blunt than most of us all in such situations. The subtler, more common response if we're rebuffed when we want to help somebody, we offer something and they say, yeah, no, please, I'm not taking visitors, or don't call, only send cards, or however it is that people say, this is how to help me. If we're feeling a little rebuffed, a little like we don't know what to do at that point, the more common response is, I'm just trying to help. And usually we are. You may have heard this poem I'm about to share with you as a song, sung by Tom Smothers of the Smothers Brothers. Remember them, boomers? On the record Free to Be, You and Me. Remember that, Gen Xers? Agatha Fry, she made a pie, and Christopher John helped bake it. Christopher John, he mowed the lawn, and Agatha Fry helped rake it. Now, Zachary Zugg took out the rug, and Jennifer Joy helped shake it. And Jennifer Joy, she made a toy, and Zachary Zugg helped break it. Some kind of help is the kind of help that helping's all about. And some kind of help is the kind of help we all can do without. That poem is by Shel Silverstein, by the way. So we want to give the right kind of help. We want to give the kind of help that really is helpful. So how can we do that? And how can we make sure we get the help that we need? Well, that's why these rings are kind of magical, because everyone has a place to get help. Everyone has a place, a way to give help. Just looking at this again, there is no place you could be in this situation that isn't somewhere in these rings. You might be very close to the problem, you might be a stranger, but somewhere there's somebody for you to turn to give comfort and help and to receive it. I'm going to say that right out here, helping anybody who needs it is a place like UUCPA. We are here for everybody in the circle, even if you can't actually see us. So, and there are places like that for you, even if you're really a stranger and you just kind of are curious what's going on, but you're distressed by it in some way, you know, we are here for you. Now, it's really helpful to know there's a place for you somewhere in the circle, because it can feel really helpless when you're in one of those in-between rings, when you're not right in the circle, in the center circle. For example, say you are the mom of a son who's getting divorced, and you're sad for your son, of course. That's who's really being most affected, him and his children. But you're also sad for yourself. You're not going to see your grandkids as often now with the family split up. And you've also grown very fond of your son-in-law, and you're not going to see him anymore. So you need support in this time of sadness. So now you know where to go. Just don't go to your son, who's probably struggling a lot more than you are. Where do you turn? You might turn to your spouse, you might turn to your friends who are farther out from you in the circle. And this way, everybody gets more help. You get more help because you're talking to somebody who's in a good position to give support. Whereas if you talk to your son and say, oh my God, this is so terrible, I'm really sad for you, I'm really sad that I'm not going to see, you know, what's his name anymore, he's probably not going to be in a good position to give support. So he's going to feel bad, you're going to feel bad. But if you turn outwards, then you get really good support. He feels better because you're now in a better position to support him, and he hasn't gotten the additional burden of worrying about your problems. Now, I want to say this is all a little more complicated, of course, than these simple rings, because people are involved. And when people are involved, things are always a little more subtle and complex. People near the middle might turn to each other. Maybe the son wants to hug the mom and say, I know, one of the things that brings me such sorrow about this divorce is that you and my husband have such a good relationship, and now you're losing that. Maybe, usually, a very sick person and their closest friends or their partner, their family members, they turn to one another. They each have good times and bad times. And if they have enough trust between them, they don't say, oh, well, you're in the inner circle, I can't ever go to you. You know, the spouse can sometimes say, honey, I'm so scared and worried about you. And maybe sometimes we want to give support and help to people in a circle farther out from us, and that's okay. So it's a little complicated. We just have to remember these as a principle. And knowing that principle, this comfort in, vent out principle in mind, we can test the waters. We can say, is this helpful for you, or would you rather that I don't talk about this? And then you know. You can say something casual to the affected person, like, I'm really sad too, and see if they invite expansion of that, or if they are clearly giving you the message that they just can't handle your troubles on top of their own right then. And always, always, where there's enough trust and vulnerability, you can ask. You can say, what would be helping you right now? Now, it was some years after I had learned about this, using this kind of principle to know when and to whom to help and to seek help, that it occurred to me that it also applies to anti-oppression work. So here imagine that in the inner circle, the people are the most affected by some form of oppression, some kind of racism, misogyny, homophobia, fear of immigrants, and so on. They're being particularly affected. And again, you can see that everybody in all of the circles is potentially affected by this. But the people closest in, they have the greatest need for help. And the people on the outside, when they need help, should turn to somebody farther out, not the people most affected. So if you're, say, white and you want to process your experiences of racism, which you have also had, you probably want to do it with other white people, not with people of color, who will probably feel more burdened having to take care of you in that moment. if you're heterosexual or cisgender and you're needing help adjusting to somebody close to you coming out as gay or trans, well, that's something you genuinely need help with, and that is fine and natural. It's good to talk these things through. So you turn to do it with someone who's farther out from you. You don't seek that help from that person. And not better, probably from an LGBT person you know. Again, unless they've offered themselves as that kind of resource. When it comes to anti-oppression, we do best to learn from people closer to the center, right there in the middle, in the affected group. We can read the books that they've written. We can watch the documentaries that they've made or recommended or in which they are featured. And to them, we offer our listening presence. That is their way of saying to the outer circles here, here's how you can help me, here's how you can understand me. When we need to sort through something that's affecting them more heavily intensely than it affects us, like the time we felt discriminated against for being wealthy, or the time that we were unconsciously sexist and then felt really bad about it, or how we didn't understand our part in systemic racism. When we need to sort those things through, and we do need to sort them through, then it's best to turn outwards. And here again, there's a wrinkle, because it's important that the people we turn outwards be supporting us in being helpful to everybody in all the circles. We don't want somebody who's just going to reinforce our worst moments. So you want somebody further out in the ring who's going to listen to you, but also say, oh, yeah, that was kind of sexist. What are you going to do next time so that you don't do that again? Now, when somebody further out in the rings from you, from whatever problem you may be facing or whatever trouble is in your life, when someone from further out in the rings directs their questions to us because we're closer to the center, we can gently direct them to the people in their circle or beyond. I understand you need to talk about this, we can say. Have you tried PFLAG, Parents and Friends of Lesbians and Gays? Have you tried a White Allies group? I understand there are some around here, in the church, for example. Have you tried a support group for family of people with mental illness? All of these things, if somebody turns to us to say, well, you know, you've suffered with a mental illness, can you tell me something about this? It's okay to say, you know, there's organizations that can do, and just direct them outward and to the people who will affirm their best impulses, their impulses of really wanting to help. Now, sometimes it happens that we want to help, we do get redirected, and we're reluctant to take that suggestion. No, I want to talk to this person. I want to turn inwards and talk. This is usually a pointer that there are other needs or wishes going on for us. Not for information, but for confirmation of our biases when it comes to oppression, or when it comes to an illness or a loss. Not to give assurance, but to be assured in some way that we're in the circle or that we're good people. That's the magic of these rings. They reveal to us what we're really seeking. And sometimes what we're seeking isn't what we think we are at first. Sometimes that need is innocent. We're just curious. Okay, you can be curious about why so-and-so is in a wheelchair, for example. Curiosity is a natural human response, but it isn't a reason to pester a person in a wheelchair. That's something very intimate. And if they are a stranger, or indeed anybody except the closest of friends to you, you just don't have the right to ask them that question. You're just going to have to live with your curiosity. Sometimes the need we have, or the wish we have, is kind of defensive. As when a parent bewildered by their child's declaration of a genderqueer identity seeks out people who will confirm their biases. They go to find other people and say, isn't my child being weird or difficult or something like that? And that's a need that if you realize you're trying to meet that need, you might think, okay, I need to address that in myself rather than impose that on anybody. And then sometimes, as we're seeking to help or be helped, we identify a genuine and important need in ourselves. such as the need for comfort because a colleague has a very serious illness. We have a need to understand our place in this complex ecosystem of race and class. Those are real needs. And these outer rings are here to embrace us, to hold us, to offer their support and guidance. Here's the magical thing. If we will turn out to where we can receive help, then when those in the inner circles and right there in the middle need more help from us, we will have a greater capacity to give it. And if you reflected during the meditation time on how it felt to be truly helpful, how it felt to be Agatha Cry or Christopher John or Jennifer Joy, and how you just don't want to be poor Zachary Zug, then you can accept the guidance of Susan Silk as a way to have that wonderful feeling of truly being of help, just as we truly receive the help that we need. We have a song about this. Let us sing together What Wondrous Love. Bruce will lead us. It is number 18 in the gray hymnal, if you have a hymnal, which, by the way, you can always come and borrow, so just let me know if you'd like to borrow one from the church for long term. I do apologize, and I'm so grateful for our tech crew who knows better than I do what is coming next. It was, of course, the offering, and if you missed your chance to give to the California Clean Money Campaign, you can go anytime this month to our website. Please do that right away after the service, and hit give, and you'll be able to go to our Justice Partner. Now let us sing. What wondrous love is this? It's the words are here in your order of service.
my soul. What wondrous love is this that brings my heart such bliss, and takes away the pain of my soul, and takes away the pain of my soul. When I was sinking down, sinking down, sinking down, when I was sinking down, sinking down, when I was sinking down beneath my sorrow's ground, friends to me gathered round. Oh my soul, friends to me gathered round. Oh my soul. To love and to all friends I will sing, I will sing. To love and to all friends I will sing. To love and to all friends who pain and sorrow mend, with thanks unto the end I will sing, I will sing. With thanks unto the end I will sing.
We extinguish our chalice with these lovely words from the Reverend Manish Mishra Marzetti. The universe sings no less because time and space wear us thin. The music calls us to recognize our limitations, to recognize that the song is best sung with others. thank you. Everyone, I now invite you to unmute yourself, turn on your video, and we'll have our benediction, and we can actually see and hear each other. And then if you stay after that time, we'll be randomly assigned to breakout rooms. If you want to move to a different room after a while to talk to a new group of people, come back to the main room, and the host who will be there can send you to a new small group. We'll stay open for about 15 minutes. Let us reach out and say our benediction together. The words are here in your order of service. Go out into the world,
Be of good courage. Hold fast
To what is good.
good.
No one
Evil.
evil.
Faint-hearted.
And the faint-hearted.
Suffering. Peace and beauty.
Beauty.
With word and deed.
Grace and beauty. With word and deed.
Honor all
these.
Jesus.
Amen.